Listen closely, because this story isn't about the simple positive affirmation of the word yes. It's about the small silent killer that is the word no, and how your systematic, lifelong aversion to speaking it is actively destroying your peace, one tiny toxic request at a time. This isn't just a story about inconvenience, it's a chronicle of self-betrayal. This is the story of every crucial moment you chose fleeting, superficial comfort over necessary honesty, momentary peace over vital self-preservation, and total, crippling exhaustion over demanding your own self-respect. It is the comprehensive, devastating cost of people-pleasing, and why your inability to set a boundary is a blinding neon sign, clearly lit for every potential exploiter to see. It starts insidiously, as it always does, preying on your best qualities, with the soft, almost negligible request that targets your generosity. It begins with the casual mention over coffee, a misplaced sigh, and the innocent phrase, "Hey, can you spot me until payday? Just $50, no sweat, I'll pay you back next Friday." And because you are a good person, because your emotional architecture is built on the imperative to help and accommodate, you don't allow yourself a moment of hesitation. You pull out your digital wallet or peel the cash from your own necessary funds and send it. "No problem," you type, that lie tasting like a mouthful of dirt because it is a profound problem. That initial 50 quickly turns into a pattern. It escalates to 100 the next month, then maybe 1,000 for a big emergency. And soon, without ever signing a contract or receiving a paycheck, you are managing someone else's structural financial irresponsibility. You become an uncompensated personal loan officer, a shadow banking system funded entirely by your exhaustion. The promised payment dates regress from firm deadlines to vague suggestions. The requests grow more frequent, and the excuses turn into increasingly elaborate, high-drama narratives. You start spending mental energy, that precious, finite resource, analyzing whether the story about the flat tire, the emergency room visit, or the sudden, urgent need for a new appliance is actually true. This cognitive labor, this constant low-level anxiety, is your silent, unacknowledged cost. And the debt isn't just financial, it's emotional. When you finally reach your breaking point, when you need your own money back to cover your own necessities, the conversation drastically shifts. The debtor transforms into the victim. Suddenly, you are the villain, the aggressor, the heartless individual demanding what is rightfully yours. They might respond with cold silence, a passive-aggressive, "I guess I'll just have to starve," or the devastating accusation, "I thought we were better friends than this." The inability to utter that simple, hard sound, "no," at the beginning, has morphed you from friend into a resented resource, a walking ATM, a role you never auditioned for, a debt that is rarely repaid except in bitterness, and a devastating, deep-seated resentment that corrodes your soul. But the emotional and financial draining doesn't stop with current acquaintances. It follows you into the past, into the territory of the emotional ghost you thought you had successfully buried. Think about the text message that drops in late on a Friday afternoon, from the ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend who treated you with contempt. It doesn't matter how the relationship ended, or the extent of the emotional wreckage they left behind. They know your soft spot. They know you despise confrontation and conflict. The message reads, "Hey, I'm truly in a life or death bind. Rent is due today, and I just need 300 real quick. I swear on everything I'll pay it back. You're honestly the only person I can even trust right now." The sheer brazen audacity, the blatant emotional manipulation wrapped in a false compliment of trust, should trigger an immediate, firm defensive response. It should be a clear, categorical no. But your life's conditioning is too powerful. The fear of being perceived as cold, of destabilizing their manufactured crisis, of provoking a dramatic public spectacle, completely paralyzes your will. You send the money, effectively paying a continuous low-grade settlement to an emotional specter from your past, just to make the momentary awkwardness and the threat of drama disappear. This is not an act of generosity. It is a profound, debilitating fear response, an act of self-betrayal powered by your deep, ingrained reluctance to displease. You are, in essence, funding your own suffering to buy temporary peace for one more week. The scene shifts violently from currency to time, the single precious resource you can never ever replace. And here exploitation assumes its most cruel and energy-draining form. Enter the world of the friend, neighbor, or extended family member who views your calendar and your life as a public resource. They need someone to watch the children. Not for a genuine emergency, not for an accident or sudden illness, but for a routine date night, a casual shopping spree, a last-minute road trip, or a plan they simply prioritized over childcare logistics. The first time, it's a sweet, appreciated favor. The second time, it's a kind gesture. By the 10th time, it's an established, unchallenged expectation. You find yourself consistently rearranging your own weekend plans, canceling your crucial self-care time, putting off your own necessary errands, all because they called or texted and you could not, physically could not, find the necessary breath and resolve to say, "I'm sorry, I am genuinely unavailable." You have been systematically trained to believe their needs supersede your own. But the most insidious and painful form of this time theft happens within the family dynamic, especially as parents advance in age. Think of the adult children with fully established lives who treat the homes of their elderly parents not as cherished family spaces, but as free, all-inclusive resorts, complete with catering, cleaning, and childcare. They arrive, not just for a brief, respectful, and scheduled visit, but with their children in tow, casually announcing they'll drop the little ones off for the weekend. A weekend that, predictably and agonizingly, stretches into 4, 5, 6, or even 7 exhausting days. Grandpa and Grandma, already tired and often silently managing their own increasing chronic health issues, arthritis, back pain, low energy, feel that familiar, crushing, and overwhelming inability to say no. They love their grandchildren, yes, unconditionally. That love is their deepest wellspring. But they dread the profound physical and emotional cost. They no longer sleep through the night. Their bodies ache, their routines are shattered. They spend the entire day hunched over the counter, cooking elaborate meals that cater to picky eaters, running after young, boundless energy that feels like a physical punch to their stamina, cleaning up triple the normal mess, and desperately trying to maintain some semblance of order and peace amidst the chaos. It is a sustained, unrelenting effort that pushes well past the capacity of their aging bodies. They spend their limited, precious reserves of energy cooking, cleaning, mediating sibling fights, and engaging in physical activity, only to collapse, utterly spent and often in pain, when the children finally leave. They need whole silent days just to recover a fraction of the energy that was ruthlessly consumed. This is not quality time. It is a profound, selfish imposition driven by the adult children's convenience and manipulative use of guilt, where they exploit the unconditional love and the deep-seated fear of disappointment held by their older parents. It is a slow, abusive erosion of their final, golden years, a profound violation of the no that remains permanently stifled in their throats. The adult child finally collects the children, leaving a mountain of laundry and a sparse fridge, and says goodbye with a cheerful, "Thank you so much for everything, we couldn't have done it without you." And the elder, smiling falsely through their acute exhaustion and hidden pain, replies, "Oh, any time. Come back whenever you like." The circle of exploitation is complete, and the victim is left alone with the wreckage. And then there are the physical possessions, the material assets you worked tirelessly to acquire and maintain. The car, that vital tool of your personal independence, which is now on loan for the 4th time this month to the friend whose own vehicle is perpetually and mysteriously in the shop, a condition that has seemingly lasted an entire year with no signs of resolution. You know deep down, they simply don't want to expend the money or effort for maintenance, insurance, or public transit. You reluctantly hand over the keys, and a quiet voice in your head screams about the massive insurance liability, the potential for reckless damage, and the infuriating fact that your own weekend plans are now completely paralyzed. You notice the faint, new, unmistakable scratch on the bumper, or the persistent smell of stale cigarettes when they finally return it, and you say nothing. Because saying something would mean confrontation. And confrontation, in your mind, is the existential monster you've spent your entire life running from. You accept the damage, internalize the resentment, and pay the repair costs, all to maintain the illusion of being the nice one. The stakes escalate further. The beach house, your sanctuary, the quiet haven you scrimped and saved all year, just to be able to enjoy for 2 precious weeks. You lend it out to a distant acquaintance or a couple you barely trust, who promise, solemnly and with elaborate vows, to treat the place like their own home. You retrieve the keys a week later and step across the threshold into a disaster zone. Wet, mildewing towels draped carelessly over expensive leather furniture, beach sand ground deep into the fibers of the carpet, dishes piled like a grotesque modern sculpture in the sink, beer bottles and forgotten food scattered across the countertops, and a persistent foul odor of human neglect. The moment you see the magnitude of the mess, the cold, sharp anger boils up, but the paralyzing, familiar fear of conflict wins yet again. You spend 8 agonizing hours cleaning up their disrespect, scrubbing floors, doing their laundry, and sacrificing your own precious weekend, your energy, and your peace. And when they casually text, "Thanks so much, the place was awesome, we had a blast," your conditioned automatic reply is, "Oh, anytime, glad you enjoyed it." The resentment is no longer a small stone. It is a boulder, heavy and cold, settling permanently in the pit of your stomach, slowly crushing your capacity for joy. What exactly is it about that tiny 2-letter word, no, that renders it the equivalent of the atomic bomb in social interaction? Why do we fear the momentary, fleeting discomfort of saying no more than the long-term, structural devastation of saying yes to things that profoundly violate our most essential needs and boundaries? It boils down to a fundamental and deeply damaging misreading of genuine human connection. We falsely confuse being agreeable and compliant with being lovable and worthy of inclusion. We truly believe that if we disappoint someone, even just once with a firm refusal, we risk losing the friendship, the family connection, or the affection entirely. This is the crucial turning point, the deep, liberating truth you must now internalize. True friendship, genuine connection, and unconditional love do not and will never depend on your constant obedience, compliance, or resource contribution. The friends, the family members, the adult children, or the ex-partners who continually push, exploit, drain, and overstep every single boundary you fail to set are not operating in the spirit of mutual, respectful relationship. They are operating in a cynical transaction of convenience. They view your kindness, your time, and your money as a renewable resource to be mercilessly consumed, and they interpret your visible reluctance to challenge them as implicit, open-ended permission to take more and more. When you finally, inevitably, break that corrosive cycle and find the strength to establish a boundary, their reaction will tell you absolutely everything you need to know. If they react with immediate understanding, sincere humility, and a genuine apology, that is a friend. That is a healthy relationship worth investing in. But if they react with disproportionate anger, manufactured guilt-tripping, manipulative victimhood, or hostile passive aggression, if they say, "I can't believe you'd leave me hanging," or "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me," or "Fine, I guess I'll just figure it out on my own and suffer in silence," then you are not dealing with a friend. You are dealing with an emotional exploiter, a parasite. And that relationship, toxic and fundamentally draining, must be aggressively and permanently reassessed for the sake of your own long-term survival. This is the ultimate importance of self-preservation. Self-preservation is not selfish. It is the most fundamental necessity of a healthy life. It is the simple, life-affirming act of recognizing that your own energy, your own time, your own finances, and your own physical and emotional space are finite, precious resources that only you are ultimately responsible for managing and protecting. Saying no is not about being mean, unkind, or difficult. It is about being clear, honest, and respectful, first to yourself and subsequently to others. It is about honoring your own deepest commitments to your own well-being. It is about preventing the slow, abusive, and total erosion of your personal sovereignty. Start small. Practice in front of a mirror until the sound feels less threatening. Use clear, non-negotiable language. "I genuinely can't lend you the money. I have other financial commitments that take priority right now. I am unavailable that weekend. You'll need to find alternative care. I'm sorry, my car is not available for loan." Crucially, you do not owe an elaborate, lengthy explanation which only invites immediate debate, negotiation, and manipulation. You owe clarity and finality. The people who truly value you, who genuinely respect your well-being, will accept your boundaries with grace, understanding, and respect. The people who lash out when their access to your resources is cut off were never truly there for you. They were only ever there for what they could relentlessly take from you. Preserve yourself, because if you don't, these small, toxic demands will continue until they have utterly drained every drop of kindness and energy from you, leaving you with nothing left to give, not even to yourself. The time to build the protective, unyielding wall of no is now.